Okay, so today we're going to do an easy sketch. I'm going to be using praying crayons. You can use Crayola. I found that praying works better. You know, it's got soybean oil in it and a lot more pigment than Crayola does, so the marks tend to be a little bit better. So I'm going to dump those out. And we are going to try to do this cherry. And I'm not sure how it's going to work out, but we're going to see. So, what I would do is I would first figure out what the local color is. The local color is red, right? And so that would be the midtone. And the midtone, I would put this probably up here, right? And I would use cross hatching. I would not color in. Do not color in. Make sure you do not color in, because you want to add other colors on top of this to create your value structure. Anytime you use more than one color together, it's beautiful. You really want to use, so I'm using this red, and then I'll modify this red with another color. And so I'm looking at the shapes that I have already sketched out here of this color. Okay, now in here is the shadow value. So what I want to do, well, maybe I'll come down here more. That's the local color, is kind of that red. Well, not exactly, but you know, the problem with crayons is crayons always draw a little bit, you know, they're a lighter range of values. You usually get the dark darks. So what I would do next is I would do the shadow color, and in here I would use, anytime you look for a shadow color, you want to use for the opposite on the color wheel. So the opposite in the color wheel would be green. So to make a darker red, I could use green, or when I look at this, I could use maybe a possibly a purple would be another choice to keep it rich. But usually if you use the opposite of the color wheel, which is the complementary color, which will flatten the color and make it look more dimensional, because you want the color to recede, you don't want the color to come towards you. So if I use green, and I'm only going to use a little bit of green, doesn't take much. Okay, and then I'm going to put red over the top, cross hatching. See how that made that red darker all of a sudden? Okay. Now, it'd be nice if this actually was a lot darker. We could try that. What I could try to do is maybe add, some of it's experimental, I could add a little more violet to it. This is more of a purple, just to keep it on the warm side. That's not too bad. Now, so I have my shadow color. I know the shadow goes underneath here, and it goes over here, so I'm going to add some more green and red there. And I know I have some reflected light right here, and I'm going to make that lighter than the midtone. Let's see how that works out. So if this is the midtone, well, I don't know. Let's see. Maybe I'll add, so I'm going to modify that midtone with, I'm going to try a little orange. See if that works, because I want that to be warmer down there. Not too bad. That's interesting. So I have this red, and then I'm going to do the highlights. I'm probably going to add, maybe I'm going to use a little yellow, because I have the original color, which is the red, modified for the shadow, which is the complement darker color, and then the highlight I'm going to add, modify it, that red with a little bit of yellow underneath to create a different value. Is that working? Yeah, it's sort of working. Add a little more red or yellow into it. Now after a while, the problem with crayons is you can't add more colors to it. It just gets all waxy. And so you just have to realize your limitation on what you can and can't do with this. And so I'm going to mix a little bit of this into that, so I don't want a hard edge here. So I'm going to soften that edge. And you know what? I'm going to modify this, and I'm going to make this red just slightly darker. And I think I'm going to use, let's see, I don't have a lot of dark values here to really modify it. Let's see. I'm going to use a little bit of this blue just to make that mid-tone a little bit darker in value. If I make this darker in value, that makes that lighter in value, the highlight. And so you're always adjusting, trying to get it to work. Now it's not going to look like the picture. The picture's using paint, and paint has a better value range than crayons do. And we're just using what we have available. And so you guys are all artists, and you know enough to make it work for you. You know, you just have to keep experimenting until it works. Yeah, that's not too bad. I'm thinking this is still a little bit too bright, so let's see if I can bring it down by adding just a little bit of a light green over the top to lower that value. So I want to do the negative space here is going to be really important. So the negative space is a dark value, and since I'm using kind of a blue purple here, I am just going to change that back here really quick. Now, I don't want the heavy brushwork, but I do want to change the value back there. Now notice how this changes the entire thing right away. It just, bam. You know, you've got a whole different feel to this painting. The foreground, I'm going to use a brown. Now remember, brown's a neutral color. Whenever you use a neutral color, you always want to modify it with a warm or cooler color. And so I'm going to modify this up here, but I am definitely going to modify this down here because I don't want to leave it just brown. I want to try to create that sense of light coming in a little bit. I'm going to have to use some of the paper color underneath to have that feeling of light hitting your subject. And I'm just going to do this real quick. You probably want to take your time a little more and see how that looks. Okay. Now I want to modify that background before it goes too far. Ooh, I've got this pink color. See what that does. And that's kind of interesting. Now, I'm noticing I can't get as much pigment onto this as I would like if I was using it as a painting. So, you know, crayons can only get you so far, and we'll see how far we can get with this. Ooh, I kind of like that. So this warms up the foreground a little bit because you want things closer to you to be warmer, and it tends to come towards you. Things that are cooler tend to fall away. Always remember that principle. Okay, I'm going to add maybe a little bit of yellow in here, a little bit of yellow over here. Yeah. And I'm starting to feel like I'm getting some light in here. And I'm just going to add a little bit there. That's too bad. I want to do this part of this cherry. So this cherry has lots of dark values in, and I think the purple seemed to work better than the complement. Oh, that's kind of a green purple. Oh, that kind of goes along with the idea of using a complement. You know, so, and then I'm going to do the red on top. There. Isn't that fun? Now this is a way of just taking your quick sketches and trying to make them a little more interesting, a little more exciting. Okay, well, now if I were to use something different like Crayons, you know, oil pastel, I'd be able to get a bigger range of colors, bigger range of values. But this is similar to when we were using regular pastels. You can't get a huge range of values with just chalk pastels. Okay. Yeah, looking a little messy. That's okay. I want this to soften out. Now this is a highlight shape in here, and I think I'm going to use a little yellow underneath. And cross hatching. Trying to do cross hatching. And I don't want to get too much red on there. Yeah. Isn't that fun? Now this is just blue. You don't want to just leave one color there. You always want to mix with something else. Keep that in mind. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to add another cool color. Green isn't too bad. Now I don't want to do it all over. I want it to change hue as I go across here. So I'm going to add other things in here to make that work. So let's see, what else could I add? I could do gray. Gray's another neutral color though. You know, I want to use gray. I want to use something that's going to make it beautiful. I could try using this lighter purple. Ooh, that's actually darker. So I have purple, green, blue back here into the mix. Now that's not looking too bad. Get that up to the edge of that a little better. My edges aren't very good here. Okay. There. So now I have this cherry. Yes, it doesn't look that like the painting, but we're artists. We make it look however we can get it to work here. Now I could do the spectral highlight, you know, these little things here, and I don't think this white's going to go in here, but I can add a little bit of it just to see if I can get it to work. Now remember, white's a neutral color, and anytime you use a neutral color, it tends to flatten and make the beauty of the color less interesting. So we want to avoid using white as much as we can. Don't want to use that. And so now I just want to clean things up. You know, I have edges here. I want to clean up some of these a little bit here. And that's pretty much it. That's the drawing. Now I know this is going to be deeper in the middle. Now, what we can do with this? Well, we can use this to do our other drawings. Let's see. I had the other sketches we did last time. That stump bird feeder thing. Ugh, don't want to do that. That's where it is. This bird feeder, this lamp post. I could use these colors and see into those and see what I can do, you know. Now this isn't looking too bad. I would make this maybe a little more, mix a little more blue into there. Now blue and red make purple, right? So that's why I didn't just grab purple to mix in here, because that's not going to give me a beautiful purple. I want my colors to mix together. So I'm mixing colors, and that's getting better. And I want this cast shadow to be really dark. Oh, I am really banging on that hard, getting that to be darker. Yeah. And then there's a little, blurring that happens here. And I'm not getting it how I'd want, because the crayons just can't go there. But let's see. Try light gray. Nope, light gray is not going to work either. Once you can only get about 2 colors on, and then you're toast. That's pretty much it. It's all the farther you're going to get. But keep that in mind. Once you understand the limitations of the medium you're using, you can use it to your advantage. Now, this is the first time we've done this, so I know what I can get away with and what I can't get away with. Oh, I didn't do the little green stem. Now remember, the stem here is round. So I know the light hitting it from one side, it's going to be darker on one side. So I can take, let's see, I think I put green on there. I'm going to put a little bit of brown, which is a neutral color, but I'm using it sparingly. And that gives me my stem. Clean this up a little bit. There we go. And go back to this. Now notice that if I put dark here, that causes this to come forward. I want to be careful not to get overboard with that. I want it to be about the same value as this, because I want it to lay down, because this is my reflection. Yep, and that pretty much works. So yeah, I can play with this for a while, play with the color, adjust here and there, and see what I can do. Clean up some of these edges. And that's pretty much it. I hope this was helpful. Give it a try. See what you can do with the crayons. Take one of your sketches out of your sketchbook and play with it.